Hey Falcon fans, I'm Thomas Mott. Welcome to Atlanta Falcons Today. We're going to jump into the latest Atlanta Falcons news and rumors here, as well as a preview of the Carolina Panther game coming up here on Sunday. First, though, with the trade deadline looming, it's next week, and a trade could happen whether we ship somebody off or bring somebody in. Name a player you want the Falcons to trade for. I did a video just the other day giving you 5 players I think the Falcons could trade for. Be sure to check that one out, but give me a name of a player you guys want the Falcons to go ahead and trade for. Now, in today's video, I want to start with a SI.com article, which are always a little weird. SI.com's got some weird articles regarding NFL teams, but they discuss the idea of being a buyer or a seller in terms of the Atlanta Falcons, and they think the Falcons should be sellers. Now, we've talked about being a buyer or a seller at the trade deadline, and you know that I'm kind of mixed, right? I would listen to offers for players on the Falcons, but I would also definitely try to upgrade some positions. Running back is definitely one of them, with a lot of running backs out there on the market, but SI.com has a very interesting take as to why they think the Falcons should be sellers, despite the fact that they are currently 3-3, as we talked about. They're at 500. Easy schedule still remains, and a chance to get over 500 for the first time this year, first time in a very, very long time, as well as potentially be in the wild card hunt. So, with the trade deadline next week, let's see what SI.com had to say regarding why the Falcons should be sellers. Bear with me on this. I'll go ahead and explain it here in a second. First, quote, they are trying to move forward. It feels like they are moving forward, but are in reality 3-3. That's the treadmill. Meanwhile, surely, GM Terry Fontenot and the people in charge recognize just how far the Falcons might be from true contention, and how a trade for a draft pick might actually accelerate the build long term. That's the balance beam, end quote. And the article talked about how it feels like the Falcons are on a treadmill trying to balance on a balance beam, and the fact that they're 500 makes it a little bit difficult. More on that in a second. First, here are the 4 possible names that they threw out in the article in terms of internal trades. If you want to be sellers at the deadline, you'd be trying to trade away these players. Dante Fowler, the pass rusher, who's currently on short-term IR. Hard to trade him away being on IR, but they put his name anyway. Hayden Hurst, the tight end. We talked about that. Makes a lot of sense. Calvin Ridley, more on him in a little bit. And then, of course, Cordero Patterson is a new name that's been thrown around, which I think would have to mean, I don't think they're going to trade Cordero Patterson. That would, one, tick off a lot of Falcon fans because we love Cordero Patterson so far this year, and 2, would really indicate a sell, which again I'll talk about in a second, is not necessarily something I think the Falcons should even consider doing. But that's SI.com's decision. That's their take. Give me your take down below right now in the pinned comment. Should the Falcons be buyers or sellers at the trade deadline? Type B down below for buyer, or type S down below for seller. We had an ad break here. Scroll down, answer the pinned comment. Here's my thought on this, though. Like, does trading away these players actually help? Like, does this actually get you enough draft capital to accelerate the build, as the SI.com article mentioned? Because I get their point, right? Their whole point is that when you look around the NFC, the Bucs exist, the Rams exist, the Cardinals exist. The Falcons are not going to win a Super Bowl this year, even if they make the postseason. And that's a fair argument. However, does that mean the Falcons should just obliterate any sort of talent they currently have on their roster? No. Plus, the 4 players they mentioned, Hurst, Fowler, Ridley, and Patterson, you're not getting life-changing draft picks in return for Dante Fowler or Hayden Hurst. Like, you're going to get 5th or 6th round draft picks for those 2 guys. You might get something for Calvin Ridley. That's definitely a possibility. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. And Cordero Patterson, I mean, what's he worth? A 4th round draft pick? A 5th round draft pick? You're not accelerating a build by getting late round draft picks. You accelerate a build by getting high round draft picks. So I don't think that we should sit back and say, oh, well, the Falcons should just be sellers because obviously they can't win in the NFC. No, I think the Falcons should be smart sellers, and I think they should be buyers as well, as long as that's bringing in a person who's a long-term solution, like a running back who will be here the next 4 or 5 years, because I think they can make the wild card, and if you make the wild card, guess what? You're selling tickets. That means you're good, and I think right now, Arthur Smith, yes, he's focused on rebuilding for the long term, and they can still do that by being buyers at the trade deadline, but he's also, his short-term focus should be trying to fill out Mercedes-Benz Stadium, because it has been empty for years. I mean, we have not sold out Mercedes-Benz Stadium truly in a very, very long time. Going to the postseason, that might do it. I think the Falcons should be smart at the trade deadline. I think they will be smart at the trade deadline, but I don't think that being just, oh, sell everybody because you can't win the NFC anyway, or, oh, get rid of all these players so that way you get, monumental draft picks in return. It's not going to happen. I am out on that. Before we get into the Calvin Ridley trade, because another person is talking about trading away Calvin Ridley, Fansided has a whole article on that. I'll give you my details and thoughts on that in a second. First, I want to give a shout out to our friends at BetUS and your chance to get a 125% deposit bonus when you go to our link, chatsports.com/betfalcons, and use the promo code Falcons125. You turn your $100 deposit into $225 to bet on the Falcons, the Braves this weekend. I mean, it's 1-1. You stole one game in Houston last night. Wasn't that great? But Braves look good. And of course, Atlanta United won last night, and the Hawks, I think, won last night as well, as they were taking on the Pelicans in New Orleans. Here are my NFL picks of the week, though. I want to get these to you guys right now. Taking Atlanta, yes, I'll take the Falcons -3 against the Panthers. I think the Sam Darnold and company, as we'll talk about later on in the video, are in trouble right now. Detroit +3 versus Philadelphia. I'm not buying the Eagles right now. They have been a rough this year. Titans are only -1 at the Colts. Like, are you kidding me? The Titans back-to-back wins against the Bills and the Chiefs. Give me Tennessee on the road. Chargers, yes, I will take them against the Patriots -5.5, and I'll take the Bucs to blow out the Saints because I think the Saints are still very much a fool's gold team despite the fact they have a positive record. Haven't played a lot of great teams if you are the New Orleans Saints. Those are my bets. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm still in the green, 19-14-2 in my bets of the week and bets of the year now, I guess we should say. If you want to jump in on betting my bets or just your bets, again, chatsports.com/betfalcons. That promo code is Falcons125. Okay, we've talked about Calvin Ridley and trading Calvin Ridley over this week, and I think that we put a bow on it by wrapping it up with this discussion here, as cited by Fansided. So Fansided has a whole blog article about why the Falcons should consider trading Calvin Ridley, and they have a couple of good points. I mean, Kyle Pitts has taken over as #1 target, and they say that if you're going to pay Ridley #1 money, which you will have to, probably at the end of this year, because he's on the rookie year, this is his 4th year, there's a 5th-year option next year, and so he's going to want that big-time money next year. If he doesn't start producing, which he hasn't done this year, maybe it's time to get rid of him now. That way you actually can get something big in return, and you save a bunch of money going forward in the future. It's interesting thought. So here's their quote. We'll throw it up on the screen right now from their article. Quote, with the #1 wide receiver, you need someone who will make an impact throughout the entirety of the game, not a play every so often. Think about what Julio Jones did for the team throughout every game. He was dominant, which is also what Kyle Pitts is turning into. Calvin will be due to receive a new contract next year or two. Falcons accepted a 5th-year option and his rookie contract, so he's under contract for the next season as well. Again, I'll reiterate what I said earlier this week. I wouldn't look for a trade for Calvin Ridley, but these stats are interesting. Like, these stats are not necessarily mind-blowing. This is not #1 receiver stats in the National Football League, and it definitely makes you kind of go, maybe they should consider a trade, which yes and no is going to be my answer to this, and I'll give you more on that in a second. I want your thoughts, though, just right out the bat. Would you trade Calvin Ridley? Like, do you want to trade Calvin Ridley? I want to gauge the fan base here and see if Fansided is crazy or if there are some people who think that we should trade Calvin Ridley. Type Y down below for yes, type N down below for no. And, of course, if a trade does happen, which if something is going to happen, it'll happen in any day now, the next couple of days here for the trade deadline, we will cover it here on the channel, so go down below and subscribe for nonstop trade deadline coverage. Myself and the guys at Chat Sports are going to make sure we are up to date and have videos uploaded as soon as people are traded, so stay tuned, of course, for that. Here's the thought on Calvin Ridley. Very simple. I'd keep my eyes open for a big offer. I would not trade him away for pennies on the dollar. If someone wants a 4th-round draft pick for Calvin Ridley, not worth it. I want him here. If someone offers a 2nd-round draft pick for Calvin Ridley, 2nd-round draft pick? We talk about, life-changing trades that get you life-changing draft capital. A 2nd, way better than a 4th. I would at least keep the eyes open. I'm not going to go fishing for one. I'm not going to make phone calls and say, hey, Philly, I know you need a wide receiver. Or, hey, Green Bay, so you want another receiver. I would wait for someone to call, and if they give you an offer you can't refuse, I would consider it. That's where I'm at on Calvin Ridley. Speaking of destinations, here are some possible destinations. These ones have been rumored. The Saints, I would not trade them to the New Orleans Saints. Sorry. Packers, yeah, I think the Packers are an interesting place. Baltimore would probably love Calvin Ridley alongside Hollywood Brown. The Texans, I guess if you want him to hate his life, you send him over to the Texans. That seems kind of mean. And then the Patriots, another option there, which I think would make sense. I think they could use a wide receiver, and Bill Belichick has a history of liking some Falcon wide receivers, former Falcon wide receivers. Mohamed Sanu is one of them. Let's quickly get into the injury report here, getting ready for the matchup on Sunday against the struggling 4-straight loss Carolina Panthers now. We'll get with our injuries first. You see this list of 4 here. Avery Williamson, the corner, has a hamstring thing. He was full participant in practice yesterday. A.J. Terrell still dealing with lingering concussion issues. He was a limited participant yesterday in practice as well. For the Panthers, a couple of guys of note. Shaq Thompson's dealing with a foot injury. He was limited in practice yesterday, but should be able to go. And then you have Terrace Marshall, the wide receiver out of LSU, who is concussed and did not participate in practice yesterday. He is unclear in terms of his ability to play on Sunday. It seems clear, though, speaking of who will play on Sunday, that Sam Darnold will start for the Carolina Panthers. Remember, his bench in the loss to the Giants, the very bad loss to the Giants this past week. They put in P.J. Walker, who's a former AAF quarterback. He did nothing, like 3 of 12 whenever he was inserted into the lineup, but it looks like Darnold is going to go ahead and get the start. And head coach Matt Rule and offensive coordinator Joe Brady talked about dumbing down the playbook and going back to the basics with Sam Darnold, and so hopefully he throws some basic interceptions to us, and then we can get another win and improve to 4-3. Again, this to me is a very easy win. It should be an easy win for the Falcons. I mean, knock on wood, I don't want to jinx anything, but this should not be a difficult matchup. I hope the secondary is able to get some interceptions, and I hope the defense can show up like they did when they played the Giants just a couple of weeks ago and held them to 14 points. I like the Panthers' chances in this one. I think you guys do as well. Give me your a pick down below. Falcons or Panthers? F for Falcons, P for Panthers. We're going to, of course, break this one down on Monday, as we always do, but again, I'm taking the Falcons. You guys probably will as well. Ultimate for today on our Atlanta Falcons news and rumor video. Again, trade deadline's coming up. If they'd make a move, which is, again, a big if, because they don't have a lot of money to do so, but if they do, we'll cover it here on the channel. I'm Thomas Mott. As we are out of time, make sure you guys are subscribed as we sign off for the rest of your day.